Let's start setting up controls for the left arm. We'll start by setting up an IK handle for the left arm, and we'll tie it from the left arm to the forearm twist bone. Now the reason why is because if we were to tie this to the wrist, then as we would move the IK handle, the forearm twist bone would actually bend as well. So that's going to be a problem. So we first tie it to the forearm twist bone, and now we need to move the pivot of this IK handle to the hand. We could do that by going to either our hypergraph or hypershade. At times I like to use the hypershade and make sure we're just viewing the lower level so we can see the connections. So make sure that we select that. And then from there we can go to the input-output connections of this IK handle. So we'll make sure that's selected. And now what we want to do is select the effector. Now we can't just move the effector with our move tool. We'll actually need to move its pivot. You can see how the translation of the IK handle is tied down, or of the effector, that is. So with the effector selected, let's go to our move tool. We'll go to our pivot mode, hitting insert on our keyboard. We'll hold V and middle mouse button, click and drag so that the pivot of the effector is now aligned with our hand bone. And we should also see our IK handle move as well. So now we can hit insert and come out of that and close this out. Great. Well, now that that has been done, if we were to now take the IK handle and move this, notice it's moving just fine. Okay, there's no bending occurring in the forearm twist at all. We can go ahead and rename this IK handle. We can call this RP_L_arm01. We can even make sure that it's going in the right group, as well as our bones, our arm bones. And we'll open up our extra nodes, move the IK handle so that it's in the IK group. For the bone, that's going to be under the bones group, but remember, all of our bones need to be tied together in our rig, okay, for the main rig that's going to be enveloped. So, being that that's the case, we'll need to actually select the root, which is the arm bone, and add it to the chest. So we'll just parent it to the chest. So we'll select the chest last and hit P. What we get now when we select the chest control is our arm moving just fine. Alright, excellent. Could also make sure with this IK handle that sticky was turned on. So we can go to the IK handle, and it's off right now, so we could always go ahead and turn that on. Alright, wonderful. Well, now that we have our IK handle in place, let's go ahead and work on our main controls. We can use a diamond control for the hand. We'll move this into place, pivoted right at the hand. We'll hold V and middle mouse button, click and drag. From there, let's go ahead and scale it down so it's not so large. Okay, great, and we can even clean this up. So we'll freeze its transformations. We can even get rid of its scale to visibility. We won't be needing that at all. And we'll give this a name. We'll call this CC_L_arm01. How about a color? Well, we could use blue for that. We'll go back and use a blue. The same blue we've been using for the left side. Okay, great. Now that that's done, we'll work on our connections here. That's going to be taking this control and constraining the IK handle to it. So again, that's selecting the control, select the IK handle, go up to constrain, and do a point constraint. And now we can select the control again, select the hand bone, and do an orient constraint. So what we have now is a nice little wave. Now what we have is our IK handle being controlled very efficiently. And we have our hand being controlled the same way. What's also nice is doing this, we'll be able to have a nice plant if we would like, okay, where the hand can stay planted while the rest of the body moves. So that's convenient. Bringing this back, well, what are we missing here? We're missing a few things. One is our elbow control and also the setup of this forearm twist. So let's get to the elbow control first. We can actually select our knee control here that we've used. Just duplicate it, move it into position. So we'll go to our move tool, snap its position back to the, or this time to the character's elbow. Okay, And then we can start moving this back some more. So we could always do that in the side view. Going into the side view, let's just move this control back. Not too far from the arm, but enough where we don't really run into any flipping. Okay, I think that'll be fine. Now, rotating it back, you could either use component mode to rotate it back, or if you wanted to get more specific, or just to have a full 180 degree flip, you could always bring back the rotation on this control. So we can go to editors and go to our channel control down from there in the channel box, or go to window, general editors, and then go down to the channel control. From there we can bring back the rotation of this object, unlock it, and closing this out, we can now go ahead and rotate this. And if you wanted to, you could have even just brought back only the rotate X, but that'll be fine. We can very easily hide those objects again, but we'll rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, and if we'd like, we can freeze its transformations now and rotation, and then simply get rid of our rotate attribute since we're not going to rotate this object at all. So now that that's been done, let's go ahead and rename this. This is actually going to be our left elbow control, so we'll switch knee to elbow and the 02 to a 1. There we go. And then for the connection, we know what we're doing here. With the control still selected, we'll shift select the IK handle, go to constraint, and go to pole vector. So what we have now is a nice elbow swivel. Great. Now, how about this forearm twist? Well, we're going to want it to be driven by the control's X rotation. So it's basically the forearm's X rotation to the control's X rotation and not the wrist X rotation at all. The reason why is we'd run into a cyclic error. So knowing this, let's go ahead and select our wrist control. We'll right click. We can right click on our rotation X and go down to editors and go to expressions. Okay, so we could just have this twist attribute, the rotate X of it already listed for us. We can copy that, and then we can switch our filter here to by expression name. Okay, just so I like to work with this, just in case we were to, let's say, select another object. Well, the expression editor would update if that was not set to it by expression name. So I usually just copy the name there, paste it, and then work on the rest of the expression. So that's going to be equal to, remember, the rotation X of our controls attribute. So that's going to be cc underscore L underscore arm 01 dot rx, but it's not going to be controlled completely, or let's say with the same amount of rotation. Instead, we want a little offset to this so it'll move correctly. So what I like to do is multiply by 0.3, so it'll move a third of as much our control is moving. From then, we're ready to go ahead and hit create, and we have our expression tied in. We can even give this a name. That's our twist. Okay, twist expression. And now if we were to close this out, select our control and rotate this in the X, notice how we're getting the movement now from our forearm twist. It's a third of how much our control is moving. There we are. Great, so that is the setup of our arm. Okay. And what we're missing now is the movement of the fingers. So we're actually going to be using a custom attribute for this. So that finishes this lesson, and in the next lesson we'll get into working on that custom attribute to drive the fingers.